Hey, this is I Think You Think, and we've got two great topics for you today. We're talking about pharmaceutical companies and homeopathy. Let me just turn this on real quick. Okay, excellent. Welcome, welcome. Let me give you our little spiel to start. Hello, today is June 5th, 2013, and you are listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin, and on the other side of my computer screen is James.
Howdy, folks.
And we're your hosts, carry no credentials worth noting, as you all know. We have a smaller group today, so we decided to let Sequoia come back and join us. Say hello, Sequoia.
Hello.
I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are not focused because we are focused on why people think the way that they do and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. Feel free to email us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and at the Chicago Now blogs. The links for each of these can be found in the underbar of the video, but if you write really fast or memorize very well, facebook.com/ithinkyouthink, chicagonow.com/I-think-you-think, twitter.com/I think_you-think. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, what kinds of... yes. I know, spontaneous guess. All right. So, what kinds of things have been eating up your lives, or you had some interest in this week that you wanted to talk about? James.
Well, for me, over the past, I guess it's 3 days, maybe a little more than that, probably the better part of a week now, but I read the majority over the last 2 days. I've been rereading a book by Raymond Feist called Magician, which is awesome if you like that kind of fantasy. It's so good. He just came out with his 30th book, which I think not last podcast, but the podcast before was what had been sapping my time. And having read like the 30th book, like I had to go to the beginning and start again. So that's kind of what's really been grabbing my time as of late.
Are there more books coming, or is he done now?
That's it for that series. From what I read on his site, though, he is going to be beginning to finally write in a different world and start a new series of books.
Okay.
But 30 books is...
Nothing.
It's just 30 books. Pretty much all of them are quality. There's a series or two in there that I could probably do without, but overall I'm hard-pressed to say what my favorite, because he releases them in trilogies, so to pick like my favorite series within the grander series, I could probably get it down to 3 and then be like, I don't know, dude, that's as far as I can go. That's the best I got, those 3. But it's good stuff.
Well, not to put Sequoia on the spot, but do you have anything that's been going on in your life?
I haven't really had much time for any media consumption because I'm going to Alaska actually this week. So I've been packing, and then I got sick, and I was trying to pack and work, and I'm deathly ill. So really just packing is what's been taking up my life.
If you feel like sharing, why are you going to Alaska?
I'm basically going on a family reunion on a cruise ship. So to Alaska. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. And it's probably better weather than Chicago's had lately?
Yeah, I looked up the weather for all the different locations I'm going to because I'm OCD like that when it comes to my packing, and it's all going to be in the 60s and 70s.
Nice.
I'm really happy.
I've got several things that I was super interested in this week. One news article I came across, Sarah Palin's, obviously we know Bristol, who had a child while Sarah Palin was running for office or running as a presidential or a vice presidential candidate. her son now, him and his wife are expecting a baby, which seems okay. So, because she's the reason that this is an interesting article is because Sarah Palin is very abstinent. Like I don't know if she's abstinent, but she's very pro abstinence and pro anti sex ed in schools other than abstinence only. She believes in abstinence only education. Had a daughter who had a child outside of wedlock. Nothing. I have no problem with that. I don't see a problem with it, but I just think it's an irony to me. But her son, him and his wife are pregnant. However, they've only been, they only got married 2 months ago, but she's like 5 months along, or 4 months along, or something like that. So that I thought was kind of funny.
So Sarah wants to teach the rest of the world, just not her family.
Evidently, whatever she's trying to she's interested in talking about regarding abstinence is not sinking in her family. Which to me, abstinence only education. That's the way I was raised. Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's a silly in the modern world, especially with all the information and stuff that's out there. Like, it's impossible to keep reality away from children. The reality of how we reproduce and sex and everything, and to expect that is, but that's a whole nother podcast.
It is. I normally say it's silly to try to teach children to fight against 3.5 billion years worth of evolution.
Oh wait, I thought the world was only like a few thousand years old. What do you?
Well, I guess it depends on what you believe. The facts.
You are using science. Oh, silly Justin.
Coming up June 11th, 12th, and 13th. Do you guys know what is coming up?
Me getting my tattoo and spending 2 days recovering.
Okay, well then that's great too. Something bigger has to do with video games, electronics.
E3?
E3 is coming up on the 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Of June?
Yeah, very soon.
But that's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it is.
That's because it's just an odd time. Like, I expect all conventions to be on weekends. I don't know why. But anyways, go ahead. E3.
E3 is coming up. Hopefully that means we'll have, next week we're supposed to be talking about science and technology, so might be something good to kind of work it in. Video games or technology, and there is science involved, so whatever. I'm hoping that they'll announce that we'll be able to pre-order Xbox pretty soon. Xbox One.
And Steambox.
Yeah, whatever. Sure,
hey,
Steambox as well.
Hey. Don't talk about my new system like that.
I will say that I did find a website that was taking pre-orders. My camera just went off, but are you guys still there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I did find a website that's taking Xbox One pre-orders. However, you pay in pounds, and it's talking about the British release. So I'm assuming that it's going to be like a PAL system, not an NTSC, which is what we use over here. But their pre-order amount that they're asking is £600, which is, I don't know, $800, $900 in US dollar ish. I'm really bad at the conversion, but they did say that if it's less than that, you'll get charged whatever is the less amount. Obviously,
Right.
They also had a list of video games that would be coming out with the system, and you could pre-order them. I was a little concerned, and the price might just be this high because they're trying to include all prices. But they were saying $89.99 in pounds, which is like per game,
it's like
which is like $120, $130 a game. And I told my wife, and we're like, if the games go that expensive, I will never buy a video game.
Never say never.
Well, that's really expensive for a game.
It's especially it's such a huge jump because normally it'll go like it went from 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60. So if they're going to make a jump, I would say like 75 would be the next jump, 70, 75.
Yeah.
To not people like people be pissed but still buy the games, just grumbling about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But especially if you're not going to be able to like really resell them.
Oh yeah, because it's supposed to. From what what I've heard is it will install the game onto the Xbox, and like if you want to, if somebody else wants to install the game, they could take the disc and go, but then they'd have to purchase a key, like from Xbox Live, in order to unlock the game for their Xbox.
Yeah, but they haven't really said if that's going to be, like $15.
Right, and that's what I was telling my wife is, at first I was thinking, oh, this is going to kill like GameStop and the Best Buy where you trade in and repurchase used games. But if it's only $5 or $10 and or 15, and GameStop and any other used retailers have some sort of a deal where when they buy back these discs for obviously much, much less, you're only going to get like $5 or $6 when you trade it in, then they can get the key from Microsoft for a premium amount, and then they can then turn around and resell the game with a new key. And so that might keep them alive, and you'll still be able to buy used games at a much lower price.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, it's not going to be like backwards compatible either, though, right?
Correct. It will not play Xbox 360 games or obviously the original Xbox games. However, my guess would be, because they've been doing this with the 360 for years, they'll re-release a lot of the 360 games and the Xbox games on the Xbox One for download. They've been doing that for the original Xbox games for the last couple of years.
PlayStation is huge with that. PlayStation is the one who really, from what I understand, really brought that to the forefront, where you could get all the old games on their network, download them, Which is fine if you're only talking about, $4 or $5 a game. It's awful because they've been charging for some original Xbox games, they're $20, $25, and it's like, really? I actually still own that game. It's sitting on my shelf. You're just freaking box won't play it. Right.
So, yeah. Memorial Day was last weekend. We forgot to mention that. So, thank you to all of the armed service members who have served. Thank you for everything that you do. You do something that I could never do. And so I appreciate that those who have, and the veterans who have gone to war for our country or defended our country. I believe that James probably feels the same way. Definitely. And Memorial Day is about those that have fallen in war, so that the people that have really, them and their families have sacrificed the most, So. Memorial Day started, I believe, back in World War II was when they actually started it as a national holiday. And during that time, I was reading that something like 20% of the workforce was serving in the military. 20% of the workforce, which was huge. I mean, that's a large, especially when during World War II, most of the workforce was men. Right. That was really when women kind of moved into the workforce, was during the war. Again, I want to thank all of our guests that we had last month. Sequoia, you get a personal thank you because you're here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys were wonderful and helpful and gave us great things to talk about, and so we really enjoyed it. We will continue to do guests in the future. I think it works very well. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is the game that I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, State of Decay, did release, I think, this morning on Xbox Live. It's a download game. It's only 1,600 points, so that's only $20. I haven't got to play it yet, so don't go run out and spend your $20 on the game and then yell at me because it's an awful game. Okay, so I will try to play it this week and get back to you guys on whether or not it's a game worth 1,600 points. So I bought it because I was looking forward to it. I may have wasted 1,600 points. I guess we'll find out.
Does it have any co-op, or is it a strictly one-player game?
It currently is a strictly one-player game. However, on the blog that the website, the company that made it has, they said that their plan is to roll out like a MMO type game, massive multiplayer online type game. They didn't go into details on whether or not this was going to be like an update to the one you're purchasing for 1,600 points, or if it's going to be an add-on that you have to purchase, or if it's going to be something that's exclusive to, like, I don't know, a computer or PC gaming. But from what it seems like, the game is specific for Xbox, so I would imagine that any of the future stuff will still stay on Xbox, and whether or not it's an add-on or included in the purchase price right now, I guess we'll find out. All right, so, what were you going to say, James?
On to the first topic.
There we go, yes, on to the first topic. I know James is chomping at the bit. We're going to start with pharmaceutical companies. I did a little bit of research, but I know James is very passionate about pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, so if he wants to start off, he can.
I will let you start off, because once I start, I'm probably going to rant for a while, so we don't want it to be, an hour into the podcast and I haven't shut up yet.
Okay, so pharmaceutical companies obviously are companies that provide, they're the ones who do research and development into new drugs. They manufacture those drugs. They market the drugs, so they sell it. For the company that I work for, where we're a pharmacy, we have a pharmacy within our building. Most of our money comes from selling things from the pharmacy. You basically have gigantic lists of the medications that you deal in, and these lists are done through with the FDA and what your company does and how it works with the pharmaceutical companies that are part of it. But there are some big names out there. There's like Merck, and I'm trying to think of some of the other names. What? Pfizer. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big names out there, and they make all sorts of different drugs. Basically, any drug that has big brand names that you see commercials of on TV, on the internet. I was going to say on the Xbox, but I don't think that I've actually seen any drug commercials on there. Yeah. But they're the ones who research, develop, ship them out, market to places, sell them to people, sell them to doctors, or at least give to doctors demos or little packets of them that they can give out to their patients. Not like as candy, but like for certain patients who seem to exhibit the symptoms that these drugs are supposed to help with. So that's what pharmaceutical companies are. There are the big ones, and then there's the smaller ones. Smaller ones still do research and development, but a lot of the smaller ones normally wait until the patents for certain types of drugs come off the market. There's a specific time when a new type of drug comes out that it gets to be the only one, and the brand. And then after that patent, a certain amount of time on that patent, it expires, and then other companies can start making a generic version of it, which is typically less expensive. Insurance companies are like to cover generics more than they like to cover brands, or at the very least, your copay is much lower on generics versus brands. Pharmaceutical companies do lots of other things, and we can kind of get into that. I've got a whole list of articles and things that I had read on them. All in all, I still didn't really I was trying to find a side that I really had on it. I probably would say that at this point, I understand better, I think, what pharmaceutical companies do, and that there isn't an inherent evil or badness to big pharma or big pharmaceutical companies, and that little pharmaceutical companies are better because they're little. But all in all, there's lots of good things that both of them do, and I would say that in general I'm in favor of pharmaceutical companies. So this, I think, will be a good jumping off point, I think, for James.
Okay, I am not anti-pharmaceutical company. Because there are, great leaps forward that they've made. I just think there's a few things that are inherent in the way they do business that I just cannot stand, I cannot tolerate, and I wish they couldn't do it. I think you said the same thing happens at your work, but I used to deliver pizzas when I was younger. And I worked for a couple pizzerias that would have pharmaceutical reps that were like clients for them. And they would regularly send, $150, $200, $250 lunches to doctors' offices in hopes that this would build a relationship with that doctor's office so that they would push their drug over another one. At least that's my impression of why they do it. I don't know why else they would do it, So
they just like giving out pizza, James.
Well, like really, why would we ever be allowing our doctors to be, pushed in one direction or the other? When I go to my doctor, I want them to prescribe a drug to me that is the drug that is the right one for whatever situation I need, the drug for. Not the, Bob from Pfizer bought us better lunch than whoever from wherever. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give James this drug, And I mean, you feel like why else would they do it if it's not to color their opinion in a certain direction? You know what I mean? And I don't think that should be legal in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know if it was you or my brother works for a similar company as you, whereas he has a pharmacy. Maybe it was him. But where the pharmaceutical companies are doing that directly to pharmacists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is our healthcare. Someone shouldn't be pushing the people that are handling our healthcare in a certain direction, unless that certain direction is to make us better, not just to sell the drug that they just spent however much money working on. And that is my number one complaint with pharmaceutical companies. Although I have another.
I'm sorry, but I think I just heard the doctor's TARDIS.
Yeah, he left some of his stuff here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, I'll see you in 20. All right.
20.
It was the third doctor, if you were wondering.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Is the third your favorite?
Yep.
Is he?
I don't know.
Not a Tom Baker, huh?
No, too popular. I'm hipster.
Oh, okay, you're a hipster. Got it. I understand.
Only
Matt Smith, the current doctor, his favorite is the second one.
Yeah, well, that's his right. No second. Okay, total tangent. So yeah, I mean, what do you two think about that? I mean, I don't know if you are both aware of that fact that the pharmaceutical companies do that. I mean, is it just my old man anger here?
Go ahead, Sequoia.
No, I mean, first of all, I want to say that I'm completely unprepared for this topic because I'm a spontaneous guest, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of research done on anything here. But, I mean, I am aware that is something that they do. I mean, they will send them on expensive golf trips. They will, take them out to lunches. They'll buy them, tons of, promotional crap, for whatever they're trying to peddle. I think anything that is trying that hard to sell itself is probably, there's probably something evil coming from there. I mean, that's not based in fact. It's a feeling. But I feel like anything that's trying that hard and spending that much money to bribe people to sell their product is probably not a good idea. I don't know. I mean, it is good because it advances research and the money has to come from somewhere. But I think any healthcare based off money is a bad idea because I think that's where we end up going from healthcare to sick care.
Okay. I guess I'm aware that there are pharmaceutical manufacturers out there who do that. However, I don't know if it's always like, okay, here's this new drug that's come out, and no one else has it except for pharmaceutical company A. And so they go out. I don't know if it's as much where they say, okay, well, let's go out and try to impress upon all of these doctors, you need to prescribe this medication. They might, there are situations in which they like will hold um, like educational seminars in which they educate the doctors on the new drug that's coming out. And yes, to a certain extent, I mean, it is a sales pitch, but it is also education for our doctors, for our healthcare professionals, in which it's not being paid for by the insurance, it's not being paid for by our health costs, it's being paid for by the manufacturers. I think a lot more of the like giving things away and really targeting sales for doctors and things like that has more to do with there's competing manufacturers of the same type of drug. And so this is when it gets down more into the when you get into more of the generics, there are maybe 3 or 4 different manufacturers who make these generic drugs. And so in those cases, they might send, hey, I'm this company, we make a hydrocodone 325 5 or something, or a 505. And we would, if you're going to prescribe it, we would prefer that you prescribed it from ours. That the like different types of manufacturers, I think, would have more to do with like at the pharmacy ends, because of one type of drug or one formulation of a type of drug. There are multiple manufacturers that we can get it from. Now we get it from basically like a company that just delivers drugs. And so they basically have a warehouse where they buy lots of different manufacturers, and then we have a formulary that says these are the manufacturers that our company has approved that we will use, and they coincide with insurances that our company carries. And so I think a lot more of the manufacturers going after pharmacists, and sometimes doctors, might have to do with, we want you to use pharmaceutical company A's drug versus pharmaceutical company B's drug, and so we're going to buy pizza for your staff, or we're going to have a salesperson come out and talk to you about it. It probably doesn't take place at like the local pharmacies as much as it takes place at corporate level, where our buyers and everything like that make those kinds of decisions.
But it does happen at local doctors' offices, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the one where I'm like, I wonder what the payoff for the pharmaceutical company is. Because I mean, let's say it's a drug like Ambien, something that helps you sleep. If somebody's coming in with a heart condition, it won't matter how much pizza the manufacturer has done that sells Ambien. The doctor's not going to prescribe Ambien, for a heart condition. He's going to prescribe. I was trying to think of a heart drug, but they're going to prescribe something that helps with that specific medical. However, if they're having trouble sleeping, then are they going to do Ambien, or maybe they'll do Lunesta, and does that kind of make a difference?
Right.
Well,
I feel like in an ideal world, they would just get like, just the science of it, you know what I mean? And not this coaxing and free food and stuff like that, This is Lunesta statistically, this is Ambien statistically, this is whatever other drug statistically, like firm, solid research done by a third party, and that's how they would decide which drugs are proper to prescribe, you know what I mean? And not, because, the people who make Lunesta got me Domino's, and the pizza who make Ambien, got me Lou Malnati's. I'm prescribing Ambien, you know what I mean? They got me better food. I don't know. It irks me, it bothers me. It always left a bad taste in my mouth when I drop off the food, I didn't like it.
well, I mean, that also kind of brings up an issue too of, if a doctor is getting, perks from Ambien, you know, be it free pizza or, you know, free swag or what have you. If a patient comes in and is having trouble sleeping, if he knows he might get a kickback if he's selling so many Ambien per patient, maybe instead of telling them to get an over-the-counter sleeping pill or try a holistic method or, you know, drink some tea or something, that if he prescribes that Ambien, then he's going to get a kickback, then that might motivate him to prescribe Ambien when it may not necessarily be needed more often.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible, and I think in not in all scenarios are all of the doctors going to do something like that, but I think that it's very possible that there would be doctors who would say, I'm going to prescribe this because there is a specific selfish benefit for me to do so. I would like to believe, and maybe it's because I'm an optimist, but I'd like to believe that doctors got into being doctors to help people, and so that they would prescribe something for what they think would be best. However, I can at least recognize that even if they don't get a specific kickback, like Ambien says, okay, every Ambien that you prescribe, we're going to give you a $20 check or a $200 check or whatever, it's possible that the first name that might come to their mind, because pizza shows up every third Friday of the month with, you know, an Ambien sticker label across the top, the Ambien might be the first one that they think of. And so that might cause them to prescribe it more often, and it's not a specific, like, oh, I'm going to get something for it. It's just, I know that name. The reason I personally know Ambien and Lunesta is because of the commercials that they play on TV. And at the end of all of those commercials, they always say, ask your doctor if this is you know, something that's right for you. But the entire purpose of that marketing is that they get their name out there, people are aware of what the drug is, so that when they finally lose that patent protection that says, okay, you as a company have spent X amount of dollars developing this drug, we can't just, the moment it's developed, allow anybody to just make it, because you've got to recoup some of those costs for making it. And so we're going to say for the next 5 years, you are allowed to exclusively make this drug. No one else is allowed to do it. And then generics are then allowed after that fact. But once you've got people hooked on, you know, it's the same thing with any of the brands. You know, when we pick up, you know, those little those cottony things that you use to wipe your nose or sneeze into, what are those called?
Facial tissue.
yeah.
Sorry, Kleenex.
Kleenex, yeah, Kleenex, because we've branded those together. Same thing with cotton swabs.
Q-tips.
Q-tips. Everybody thinks Q-tips. You know, where are your Q-tips? Oh, well, Q-tips are here, but cotton swabs are right next to them.
I'm going to TiVo it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you associate a specific name with something, and it's good marketing. That's just the way it.
You know, I understand like a company's need to, you know, be profitable, but it's such a gray area for that. They're not making shoes. They're putting chemicals into people's bodies, all of which pretty much have some level of side effect, you know, and it's like, it's that balance, you know, you're going to be nauseous for a week, but this will get rid of whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, or, you know, you're going to have anal leakage. That's a possible one, you know.
Actually, with a lie, that's very common.
Yeah. You know, like whatever it is, you know, from like uncomfortable to those around you to downright dangerous. They all have side effects. They all have side effects. You know what I mean? So we're putting chemicals into people's bodies, you know, and it's, I just don't think like it should be manipulated in that way. Like I don't fault them for needing to make money. They're a business, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
You're also dealing with something that can like cure people. And there's something kind of underhanded about the idea that they're spending all this money to get kickbacks, and they're spending all this money on marketing, and they're spending all this money on giving doctors whatever it is that they're giving them, instead of lowering the price of their medicine that could potentially really help somebody.
And also, Justin, you mentioned the TV commercials. I think that should be illegal as well. I don't think anyone should
Okay.
ever go to their doctor and be like, I was watching Maury Povich the other day, and I saw an ad, and I think I'm sick in that way, and I want to take that now because the people in the end of that commercial were really happy. I don't think it should be allowed. I don't think it should be allowed. I think the information should be there. I think, you can go online and you can research, and I think there should be like strictly regulated, like third-party sites that really give you the information. You know what I mean? I think it's fine. The information should be there. But I do not think that someone should be watching, their favorite sitcom and come across a commercial that's for a drug that's going to make them happy, and now they're going to go to their doctor and be like, I need this. It's the wrong way to go about it. You know what I mean? We self-diagnose too much as it is. I mean, I personally rarely take even over-the-counter drugs. It's very, very rare. I am more likely to take a whole bunch of, garlic tabs and vitamin C and some echinacea and make sure I eat right, sleep right, and get a lot of fluids, and do other things that are like non-chemical oriented to, make myself better. And most of the time that works. Maybe once every 2 years I have to, get some NyQuil or some Dayquil just because it's that rough. But, honestly, if I didn't have the job I had where I have to, like there's like no one to cover, like I can't call in sick from the job, I would probably use sick days on those days and still use my same methods, because I would actually have the time to do it and not be like, oh, I gotta push through work,
Right.
But that's me, you know what I mean? I don't even really take aspirin very often. Usually it's only because I drank too much and I'm dumb. I don't know. There's lots of other things that we could kind of say. Sequoia, you had brought up the cost. I guess I can kind of understand that. I think it has a lot to do with healthcare in general and how things are going to change sort of in the future in terms of how the money that we spend and the money we give to our insurance companies and that they spend is going to kind of change as the concept of healthcare as a human right starts to become more prevalent and not something that's as fringe. So I don't know specifically. I do know that this doesn't really address what you were saying, but some of the research that I had found is that pharmaceutical companies spend more on research and development as a percentage. They spend more on research and development as a percentage of their sales and administrative costs and things like that for the company than like technology companies do. Technology companies like Microsoft and Apple, they may spend 2 or 3% of their administrative costs and everything on research and development, whereas pharmaceutical companies spend 12, 15, some cases 20%. It's a little different based on the bigger the companies tend to spend less on research and development. But those bigger companies are still spending 10, 15, 20%. Smaller companies who don't have as big of a marketing and sales and type thing can spend at anywhere 40, 50, 60% on research and development because they don't spend as much of their money on marketing and things like that. Mm-hmm. However, I do know that some of that money that they get in terms of charging higher amounts for people like you and I who live in a first world Western culture where we have more money when it comes to a percentage of what the world has, who can quote unquote afford some of these medications. They use some of that money in order to go into third world countries and vaccinate entire villages against like HPV and go in and get vaccinations out into other countries that for a lot of these manufacturers, these pharmaceutical companies, it's not going to make a really a big bit of difference for those
those companies as a whole. I mean, even if they get their name out there for some country in South Africa, it's not going well. South Africa is a country in Southern Africa, the continent, in a country somewhere down there. They're not going to see any kind of big return. It's not going to be like, oh well, you know, I remember when Merck came in and vaccinated us all for river fever or something. So, you know, 2, 3, 4 generations from now, maybe when we have more money in our economy and we're more built up and not a third world country, we should start buying more of our pharmaceuticals from them. You know, I don't think that they think that kind of long term. I think sometimes it's more to kind of put a pretty face sometimes on things, and sometimes I think it's because, to a certain extent, I'm sure that there are people in those companies who they got into that business because they wanted to help people. And this is a way that they go about helping people.
And any company like of that size, no matter what you do, whether it's something as, you know, specific as pharmaceutical or, you know, when you're that big of a company, you need to have positive PR. Yeah. You do, you know. So it's that, if nothing else. But I think we need to have our little break.
Yes.
Oh, man. I was thinking about buying some jewelry because I'm not wearing any. Would you have any suggestions for me, Justin?
I would if I had the website up, but here we go. I got it now. Just took me a moment.
Strava Max.
It is, I know what it's called.
I was saying.
Yes.
Okay.
There we are. You see it?
I do.
StravaMax.com. Oh no! Now everybody can see my bookmarks bar. I normally get rid of that so you can't see all the bookmarks that I have.
Uh-oh.
Now everybody's going to be able to pause the video and go back and look at my bookmarks and be like, oh my God, I can't believe he goes there.
I can't actually see it right now. All I have is you driving your car.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know either. Okay. Oh,
doesn't matter.
Let me try this.
Most people will probably be listening to this and not watching it. So
here we go. Yeah, I know. All right, so Strava Max, lots of great jewelry. They do look like they have another sale going on. Ooh, that one's pretty. I like that one. Pretty. But, yeah. I mean, not for me, obviously.
I think you could pull it off.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Those look like Christmas trees and dragonflies. So, lots of great stuff. The person who makes this jewelry is also the young lady who made our graphics. And so, if you guys would like to support us, you can help support us by supporting people who help make this show possible. And Strava Max is one of the ways to do that. You can also do it by buying our app. We've forgotten to talk about our new app.
It's true. It's available on the Android App Store. It's $1.99 because they wouldn't let us make it be cheaper. But you know, $2, and all of our old episodes are there. And as soon as we upload the new ones, they're there. Which, for those that are listening to this, I apologize for the last episodes taking a while. I'm hopefully going to get them done tomorrow.
So, and I will try my best, James, to get this episode to you as quickly as possible, so maybe you can get all 3 of them up right away for everybody, for all of our, clamoring fans that have been writing us angry emails because they haven't been able to hear our voices.
Yes, that has been happening.
Lots and lots of it. There's nothing about what I'm saying that's false.
Except for the things you're saying.
Except for everything that I'm saying. All right, let's move on to the next topic. You had mentioned, James, and so I'll use this kind of as a springboard. When you get sick, you don't typically take Advil or any kind of a cough cold medication or anything like that. I tend to, because I like to alleviate those symptoms as quickly as possible. But you tend to take vitamin C and things like that. These while taking vitamin C and stuff like that isn't specifically homeopathic, it's an aspect of homeopathy, right? I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I It's been years now that I have sort of taken this approach, and I have a good friend of mine whose mother studied a lot. Like she, if I ever got seriously ill, like after I had, confirmed with the doctor and knew exactly what I had, I would go to her and I would let her know and see what she had to say. Because she's got so much information, herbal remedies. And there's there's such a broad range of, natural remedies, if you will. But yeah, like if I have those emergencies, those little like drink pack emergencies, and I try to always have them. And if I start to feel like doing a little under the weather, I'll take one. And then I'll drink another one right before I go to bed. And, if I still feel bad in the morning, I'll have another. In fact, I had a handful of people that were getting sick, and I just bought a big box. I'm like, anybody who wants them can have them. At work because, I'd rather, spend a little bit of money and have people, But anyways, yeah, vitamin C, descented garlic tabs, just making sure you're eating right, you're drinking right, I smoke cigarettes. I shouldn't, but I do. If I'm feeling bad, I will definitely cut back on that, and other things that aren't even like medicine. Like if I have been sick all day, I will, obviously shower when I get up in the morning, but I will shower before I go to bed. If I was really sick and I'm starting to feel better, I will like wash all my pillowcases before I sleep the next night. Just like little things, and some of it's probably mental, where I'm like mind over mattering against some of this stuff. But yeah, I stay away from that stuff unless I've reached a point where it's not smart for me to anymore, where I'm not winning the battle in that way. And then I will, go to other methods. But because of that, if I have a headache and I take one Tylenol or one ibuprofen, like it works, where I know people who will be like, give me 3, give me 4. Like, what about your digestive tract, people? Like, seriously, you can't like pop like 3, 4, ibuprofen or Tylenol like every third day without consequences,
Yeah, acetaminophen, which is what's in Tylenol, is bad for your liver. That's why, I don't know, any house fans out there, when they are trying to help with as an anti-inflammatory and trying to prevent like pain and everything like that, and they're giving them acetaminophen, a lot of it will shut down your liver. I mean, that's why there are little warnings on the back say don't take more than a certain amount in a day, and if you do, consult a doctor or go to the hospital, basically, because if you take too much, it'll shut down your liver. I don't take acetaminophen for that. If I can help it. I mean, I try to take ibuprofen. Ibuprofen isn't as hard on your stomach or your liver, but it works a different way in terms of pain relief and everything like that than acetaminophen. I would kind of want to draw a distinction between something that's homeopathic and something that's a natural remedy. A lot of drugs are based on natural remedies. For example, a lot of the pain relief that we have now. Here's a perfect example. People are getting, well, hopefully, probably not in Chicago. People around this time are probably going to start getting sunburns. What do you use when you get a sunburn? That's a question you guys can answer.
I've only been sunburned once in my life, and I was in Florida, in and out of the pool for about 8 hours straight. I really don't get sunburned, fortunately.
Sequoia, do you know what the answer is?
Well, I've used that Solartane stuff before, that spray-on stuff. Mm-hmm. But then usually it's just aloe vera.
Right, aloe vera, which is based on the aloe plant. And I mean, you can actually buy aloe plants. And if you get a burn, like obviously not a sunburn where you'd have it all over your back or your face or whatever, but like if you burn yourself on a stove, you can take an aloe plant and break it open, the leaf, and actually rub it on it, and it is basically what you would be purchasing. And so aloe and many of the drugs that we have nowadays are based on natural things that exist. It's only in the recent, few decades, half a century, where we've actually started having a good enough understanding of what takes place at like the atomic level, what takes place at the cellular level, that we have started constructing medications based on and building medications based on gene sequences and things like that. I mean, that's a more recent technology, but natural remedies for things stretches back basically all the way back to when we first stopped following our food and started growing our food. So the way I would probably define homeopathy or homeopathic cures for things is the specifics of homeopathy is like, if you distill that the cure for something, that the water has like a memory. Water has a memory that it has things in it that would cure you, and the more you distill water into whatever your original medication is, the better and stronger it becomes. Basically, they're saying the more water you add to it, the stronger whatever the medication is that it becomes, because water has this memory. And so if you go to a grocery store or a pharmacy or something, and you go to their homeopathic section, or you get, and I'm not talking about like vitamin C and stuff like that, because vitamin C, there's actually evidence to support that vitamin C helps do certain things. But I'm talking about, they have cough cold medication that is marketed for 2 years and older children, that is supposed to help with cough and cold and things like that for children. Now, cough cold medication is not available by according to the FDA does not allow children under 6 there are not instructions on medications for children under 6. It always says do not take, or only take as advised by a doctor. For these homeopathic versions, they have for 2 and older, because if you look at what it's got on the back, it just has these list of things that don't say that they are antihistamines. They don't say that they're things that help dry up your nose or anything. They just say that it's supposed to help with the symptoms, but then it has a little thing that says these are not confirmed through any kind of FDA testing. This isn't confirmed by this, and a list of these things. The difference between something that is a homeopathic product and something that's medicine is, if I take a cough cold medication and I drank the entire bottle, I could probably send myself to the hospital. But if I take a homeopathic medication and I drink the entire bottle, nothing will happen to me. And so
nothing will happen? That's not good. You're not even better?
Well, for the actual homeopathic idea of that, that water has a memory, that the more you distill it, the better and stronger it is, that is the whole premise behind homeopathy.
It seems very odd to me when you say all that. It seems very like we could go to 1870 and there'd be somebody at a cart telling me this. You know what I mean?
About the homeopathic stuff?
Just, just add more and more water in it, only gets stronger. I don't know. It just seems odd.
That's the weird thing about it. I mean, if you do research on homeopathic medicine, are you familiar with the James Randi Foundation?
No.
Okay. The James Randi Foundation is a secular. It's not secular. I'm trying to think of the. It's a skeptic foundation that they have the $1 million challenge. Now, this is kind of unrelated, but that's what they're most known for, is their $1 million challenge. The $1 million challenge is if you can prove some sort of a paranormal event, like psychic reading, things like that. I mean, afterlife, something like that. I mean, if you can prove these things, then they will give you $1 million to fund, to do with whatever you want. I mean, if you want to fund more research in it or whatever. I mean, it's a skeptic organization that is looking for people to prove that ghosts exist. It's looking for people to prove, but you have to come, and the people who are behind it are, magicians, former magicians, people who are skeptics. But anyway, they have one thing where they'll go and they'll do these talks about homeopathic medicine where they'll bring out a bottle of homeopathic medicine and drink it on stage, and nothing's going to happen here because there's nothing in it. And they'll talk about the history behind homeopathic medicine and what homeopathy says about water having memory. Now, some homeopathic medicine have started adding things like honey and things like that, where if you have a cold and you drink a tea with honey in it, that'll make you feel better, regardless of if there's any medication in it. But then if you tack onto it that there's all of these other things that are in it that are supposed to help you have more energy or whatever, but there really isn't, or if it says, hey, it's got this kind of thing that's in it. I wish I should have got a homeopathic thing so I could list some of the things that they have on it. But the next time you guys are in a pharmacy, pick up one of their homeopathic cough cold medications, and read some of the stuff that it's got that's supposed to be in it. But yeah, that's to me, homeopathy is like snake oil.
Yeah.
So it's going to cure everything for you.
Right.
And if you're looking to something like homeopathy, it's one thing to look to homeopathy to cure, or at least
dehydration.
To at least alleviate symptoms of a cold or something. That's one thing, and to a certain extent, if a parent comes in and they want something for their kid, and they pick up, and their kid is 3 years old and they want a cough cold medication, and I tell them, I'm sorry, there is no FDA approved cough cold medication, then they will pick up this one says 2 and older, and I say, yes, it's a homeopathic medication. You can talk to the pharmacist about it because I'm not allowed to give any medical advice.
Yeah.
But I will say, by all means, read what it says on the back. Read the kind of things that are in it. And if it makes them feel better as a parent that they've given their child something, and if their child thinks that it's going to help, or they think that it's going to help their child, there might be an element of the sugar pill, the placebo effect that might help. But when you get down to it, it is not medication. It's not going to do anything for you. Because if it was medication, it would be called medication, not alternate medicine. Yeah.
Sometimes I take, for homeopathic remedies, sometimes I drink Dasani.
Yeah. Which, that's the thing about the water has a memory problem, is if it does have a memory,
we're all screwed.
Could prove that. Well, right, yeah. I feel bad for toilet water. But that would mean that eventually, especially if you live in the city, you're drinking toilet water again at some point. It's going to go back and get recycled and come back out, regardless of when it would happen. And if water has a memory, and even if it has good stuff in it because of that memory, it's got a load of shit in it too.
Oh yeah.
Literally, it would have that.
Oh yeah. At this point, we've been on this planet so long, the average, water, say, in a lake in Europe, how many people has it been through?
Yeah.
How many people has it been through? That's interesting science. Somebody find me the answer, one of our 4 listeners. Figure out that for me. It just sounds weird. It's weird. I don't know.
I will this week try to find some links to post on the Facebook wall regarding some of the homeopathic stuff. There are some medicines out there, or that label themselves as homeopathic, that do have not medication in it, but they do have things like they might have echinacea or melatonin or something that there is actually some science to support that melatonin helps you sleep, that echinacea helps with energy, I think. That I think ginger helps with motion sickness. I mean, these are things where there is science to support these things, and if there's science to support it, then it's not homeopathy. I mean, homeopathy is alternate medicine.
Homeopathy is not science, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, if a medication, there's medicine and then there's alternate medicine, and if something was proven to be true that actually worked, it wouldn't be called alternate medicine. It would be called medicine.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing that something that's supernatural that might take place, once it's proven that it actually happens, it's a phenomenon that takes place, it's not called something that's supernatural anymore. It's called something that's natural. I mean,
right.
Supernatural is by definition something that happens outside of nature. And
every afternoon on TNT.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hate when people walk away with homeopathic medicine, and I guess if it's making them feel better, like that they're doing something to help their child, and there's a placebo effect for the parent, and they're telling the child that it's going to help them, and there's a placebo effect for the child, then that's great.
But and I mean, if it's basically just water, it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Well, it doesn't hurt like physically, but if you're setting up it hurts in the sense that you're setting up an expectation of not being skeptical of these types of things. It presents a possibility that, okay, now I have cancer, I'm going to go eat garlic leaves or garlic cloves because there's this one doctor that says that garlic cured this woman's cancer. I'm not saying that that's actually happened, but I mean, that's kind of the situation that you're setting up with homeopathy.
I was just trying to see, because one of my really good friends is pregnant right now, and when she first got pregnant, she knew with her first pregnancy that she had a lot of problems with morning sickness, so she was trying to look for alternative methods to dealing with the morning sickness, because the first time around, a lot of the normal medications weren't working for her. So we were like looking through all this stuff at the store, and I remember there was like these pregnancy lollipop things, and I turned it over and I looked at the back, and it literally was the ingredients for regular lollipops, and I was like, they're just lollipops, like there's nothing else. And I was just trying to bring it up, and I saw that it's labeled as homeopathic, so I just remember turning it over and I'm like, these are just lollipops. Like, there's nothing in these that'll keep you from being sick, at all.
Right, and that's typically a call sign of homeopathy. I mean, homeopathic medicines are typically, there's nothing in it. I mean, okay, there might be obviously sugars or something like that. I mean, there's something in it, but I mean, there's nothing in it that's going to do what they're claiming it's going to do. Or there's at least no science to support the claims that they're making. Mm-hmm. But their packages actually say that. Their packages are required by federal law to state that the claims that they're making on the package are not supported by
science,
by independent study, by science, by the scientific method itself. And so that's why I personally I can't stand homeopathic stuff. There you go.
Well, I think we beat this bottle of water to death.
So, and we're a little over, but there you go. Sorry I ran on a big long rant and no one else got to talk for the second half.
It's okay. You hate water. It's all
right. James, do you want to close us out?
Yeah. I have a strong dislike for certain aspects of the pharmaceutical company, and Justin really doesn't like homeopathic remedies because water isn't enough to cure you when you're ill. And Sequoia's going on vacation. And at some point in time in the future, Justin, we must talk about the broader base of natural remedies beyond just water. Because I think there's a lot out there. There's some interesting stuff. But beyond that, that's all I got. What's our broad-based topic for? Because week one is we'll talk about it next week, unless you have it right in front of you. Our 4-week little schedule.
Oh
we
yeah,
have.
I've got it in front of me. Yep,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we did the next week would be science and technology, and I think it coincides very well with E3. So I think we'll probably talk a little bit about E3. Whether or not the show next week is going to be after E3 or right in the middle of E3 will kind of be dependent upon that. I have on the 14th, I have a Relay for Life event that the store that I was working at is participating in, and so I will be doing that. And so I'll probably want to talk at least a little bit about Relay for Life, what they are, that they support the American Cancer Society, that I will be going to the Relay for Life dressed up as Thor, the god of thunder.
Just because every time you leave the house, if you can wear it, you do.
Well, our group is called the Avengers, so I talked my wife into wearing a Black Widow costume. My son's going to dress up as Black Panther. We have a little girl's Thor costume that my daughter's going to wear. So,
can I be Uma Thurman's character?
Who is that?
The other Avengers, the British Avengers movie.
Oh.
So, yeah, next week, science and technology. Hopefully we can record a little later in the week so we can definitely get some content from that. But anyways, thanks again for watching if you're over there on YouTube watching us, or listening if you're listening via the normal podcast. And thank you very much.